Okay, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Welcome to Pre-Production Meeting Spring 2021. This meeting is being recorded, so please feel free, once we have it ready to go, to share with your group members or other people who might not have been able to attend this evening. So we're going to start with a land acknowledgement. We as Platt House and the Pack Shop want to begin with a voicing of gratitude to the past and present generations of Indigenous people for the opportunity to live our lives in this space. Although we're gathering on the internet, many of us are living and learning on Lenapehoking. We currently call this space Philadelphia, but this land was stolen from the Lenni Lenape tribe, the original stewards of this land. Land acknowledgements are an important way to amplify conversations about past and ongoing injustices against Indigenous peoples and conversations about their rightful future in these spaces. Wherever you are on this continent or other colonized lands, we encourage you to research and to pay attention to whose homelands you are sitting on. If you don't know the name and story of the people whose land you occupy, you can find that information and many other great resources at native-land.ca, and we'll post that link in the chat. The land acknowledgements are a great way to, as I said, pay that homage to the people who came before us, and we encourage you to do it at your events as well, whether they are virtual or one day in person. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Megan. So we highly encourage everyone to seek out. We're back on. So we encourage everyone to seek out our resources you can find on our website and other resources on how to do your own land acknowledgement for events. So we've got staff from Platt House and the Pack Shop here online today. I'm going to introduce the four Platt House folks. Most of you know us, but few of you know all of us. So staff, maybe as I introduce you, you can give a little wave. That way people can find you on their Zoom grid and organize their screen however they so desire. Laurie McCall, where are you, Laurie? Director of Platt House. You may refer to her using she, her, hers, or my liege. Laurie is your go-to for questions about policy and permissions and any grand plans and ideas that you wish to share with the PAC community. James Grant, thank you there. He, him, his is your program coordinator, your best source for information about payments, rights, and of course our community ticketing program. Megan Edelman, there she is, she, her, hers, is our associate director and the human encyclopedia of all things scheduling, space reservations, and pen arts and the like. And then there's me, Sarah. I use she, her, hers, and in this crew, I'm kind of the backup dancer. I'm one of the folks you can talk to if you're seeking a connection to the Philly regional art scene, or if you're interested in talking about our ongoing podcast. Let's move over to the next slide, and I'll introduce our advisory group. So at this point, the leadership of each PAC group should have heard from your staff advisor. We sat down and divvied up so that we could each reach out to a group and check in with you over the fall. So you should have heard from us and had meetings with us over the fall semester. And if you have not heard from us already, we should be hearing from us soon for the beginning of the spring. If you have questions that are specific and like require detailed knowledge of your group, this is a great person to reach out to because we've been keeping tabs, but you're always welcome to reach out to whoever you please. So again, look at these lists. If you are on this list, then this is your advisor. And finally me. All right, I'll pass it off to, oh, is this me again?
I think Laurie was gonna jump in for this slide.
Yeah. Go for it, Laurie.
Sorry, that was me. Hi, everyone. Here's some of our contacts. While you may not remember them from this slide, just realize there is a website easily found on the Penn website search. We do have an email that goes to all of us. Facebook at Platt House, Instagram, Penn Platt House. We have a newsletter that you can sign up for that's weekly. We have a YouTube channel, and there's also a podcast. So the reason I am mentioning these is because a lot of people don't actually look at our social, or some people look at our social media, obviously, but some people don't. And a lot of times you're missing announcements or events. So it's really good to follow us, at least one of these sources. And also for the YouTube link, we really want to showcase your work, but we need your actual files. We can't share from your page. Like, you have to actually send us a file. So we would love for you to share your content with us, and we'll post it on our page. And also on that page, you can see things like this, meetings or workshops such as PatCon or GBMs that you might have missed. So that is all I have to say about it.
If I remember to unmute myself, that would help. So Zoom problems, but we're glad to have it. So we wanted to talk a little bit about filming allowances. So just a quick reminder that no in-person activities are permitted across campus before Monday, February 1st. So obviously that's coming up soon. So we just have one more week of the quiet period, which is really important for COVID safety. So starting on February 1st, these rules are sort of similar to last semester. So something that is allowed is one student may film one other student as long as they are masked, distanced, and 6 feet apart. And this is for the outdoors only. Both students, the person filming and the one appearing on camera, must remain masked at least 6 feet apart at all times. And again, this is only permitted outdoors. So that's one element that you are able to start doing beginning in February. Another is up to 4 students who live together in a pod may appear recorded together. Again, it should be outdoors and masked. All of those elements are still important. And in your video, if you have people appearing together on screen, you should note that as a disclaimer with your video so that people aren't like, hey, you're not allowed to do that. You can say, yes, we are, because we're following the filming regulations that we have learned. As far as other rehearsals or filming beyond what is mentioned above, nothing is permitted yet at this time. We're still looking into outdoor rehearsal spaces for the future, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But at this point, nothing has been permitted that is not mentioned above. So again, these allowances are only for filming, not for rehearsing at this time. So you should still be doing any kinds of rehearsals over video platforms such as Zoom or other ones that you might have found. And if you have questions about those, we can recommend, and please feel free to be in touch. Okay, and I will kick it over to James for some financial elements.
So before we move on, we have a question from Reagan about what if people live in the literal same house as other people? Would they still have to be masked outside even though we're living and occupying the same space on a daily basis?
So pods of 4 or less can be filmed together. And it has to be disclaimed on your video somewhere that people know that you are a pod and live together.
So, sorry I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but so if it's people who do live together, I for example live with like 6 other members of Bloomers and 5 members of Mask and Wig. So like, could 4 members of Bloomers that are like in this house film, like for example, in our kitchen together, as long as we put that in the disclaimer, or would we have to move it outside and be masked?
I think as a pod, you can just do that. The only question I don't know about is the mask, because if you're outside, you don't know who could be passing you. So I would not risk outside without a mask, but we'll find out for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. And definitely got it on the disclaimer.
Okay.
And I think we have another question that came up in the chat from Felicity. So just to clarify, would the 4 students living together be distanced from each other, or would they be able to, for example, dance with each other? Laurie, I'm going to let you take that as well.
I believe if you're in a pod, you can be like, as long as you're not around any other people, right? Then you can act like you're a family and how a family would act. So again, I will clarify to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that that's the point. If you're in a pod, you don't have the same restrictions. But like if you're on Locust Walk dancing without a mask and people are walking by you, that's not good. So that's what you have to take in consideration.
Yeah, regardless of being in a pod, if you're outdoors, you do have to have a mask on as per the campus compact.
All right, so before we move on, is there any other questions about filming? Great, cool. If not, just pop, if there are, just pop them in. So for financial elements, Just as a quick recap, Danielle and I are still teasing out how we divide our labor, but from her directly, she really is most comfortable just swiping and assigning. So really, if there's any sort of wrangling or any sort of considerations outside of literally just paying, bring me in. Also, if you're not sure, I can literally take it from you and say, hey, this is to be paid this way. So don't worry about that if you're just trying to figure out who you should bring it to. If you bring it to me, I can just pass it to Danielle. Now, you're all aware of your SAC funds and how you can spend them normally, and then also with these COVID restrictions. On top of that, you are also covered for your editing costs. Now, the way that we are hoping that you will decide how to have your pieces edited will be talked about by Amanda with the Pack Shop materials. But as you're thinking about this, just remember, you are covered through your SAC funds. And you are only covered for one show per semester. For many of you, that's literally all you're trying to do. So so that's not a big deal. If you have multiple shows, you can determine which show would you like to be covered. As well, if you release content and you produce a show, you just need to figure out what's most beneficial for you. And it's not a matter of like when you have a sale and it's like, if you buy two, the one that's lesser is free. Like, that's not how we're doing things. You just need to be clear with us so we can mark that clearly in your funds. And that would be a conversation that you would have with Danielle. But we would really like to know that if you did 6 videos and you were like, well, they're part of a series and they're all together for one performance, we would just like to know that so we can say, this group did 6 YouTube videos that they edited and that was their performance. If you have more in-depth questions, especially if you have Danielle questions, treasurer training is this, no, it's not this Friday. It's Friday, February 19th at 4 p.m. And it looks like there have been some questions. Let's see. Was SAC paying for editing available last? Yes, we actually did mention this, but we are really trying to be very straightforward and bring this to you this way. We're also going to push this out on all of our platforms, which is why we remind you to stay connected and aware. But yes, also this is not this is also something you can retroactively if you wound up having something paid and you needed to figure out what you needed to do, that would be a conversation with me and Danielle, just to see if we can get your funds reimbursed or shuffled around a bit. And that is Olivia, that is an upcoming slide. And can we move ahead? And this goes to Megan.
Thanks, James. So yeah, we'll get to some of those additional questions. And if anything isn't clear at the end, we will also just kind of open the floor to questions, and we'll actually do that twice through. So we'll take an intermission, as it were. So just to talk a little bit about forms for this semester. So the first form is the marketing form or show form. It's one that we use we have used in previous years as well as this year, just updated a little bit for the virtual environment that we've been in. So we request that it gets completed at least 3 weeks before you release your content. If you are unable to complete it on that timeline, complete it whenever you can, as soon as you have your information. You complete that form so we can help push it out there for you. We love nothing more than to get your content to a bunch of eyes. So we want to push it on our platforms, social media, as well as newsletters, put it on various calendars. So if you complete that form, that kind of gives us all the information in a one-stop shop. So it's really helpful to us to help market for you. So we have the link to the form here. We can also drop that in the chat. I'll click on it real quick just to show you kind of what it looks like in case you're unfamiliar with the form. So again, you kind of give your group information, what your show is, and your show can be, a production that you know have edited together, or maybe it's like a series of videos or something in between. Y'all are creative. I'm sure there's things we haven't even thought of yet. So if you can share the title of the show or the series, a little description that you would use in a blurb for marketing, where the show can be accessed. You might not have that when you're filling out the form, so I'll follow up with you to kind of get that information, what platform you'll be posting it to, if you have any partners that you're working with, then of course dates and times, or if it's just kind of going to be posted and available. If there's a premiere date, we can keep that as well. The estimated runtime, how long it's going to be. I know a lot of the virtual shows have been free, but if there's any cost associated with it, if you can let us know, where people can get those tickets, where they can access it, like a Facebook to get more information about it. And then some, again, contact information for y'all in case we have any additional questions. And if you're interested in donating tickets to the community ticketing program, which then James will do a follow-up with you for. And then again, appropriateness for children. So we can see when we're marketing if that should be included as well. I see, again, a couple of questions have popped up. So James, I think this one might be for you. For TACI, OneAx, or other subcommittee collabs, can we contribute our individual groups' SAC funds to the collaboration? And Laurie mentioned OneAx is funded by a gift fund like MSACs is. So it looks like, Jaden, that was cleared up for you. If that's not right, do let us know and we can follow back up on that.
And for any other type of collaboration, it would be just like if you were doing a space share. So, or like a one big production. So we could weave some of that together in any way that you normally would. You just would need to decide amongst yourselves what the delineation of funds would be like.
That just depends on what the collaboration is. Like if it's like a collaboration, like it's your spring show, you would divide it. But if it's some like special initiative, we could see if there's funding available for you, but we don't really know until we hear from that. But like if it's your show's a collaboration, then yeah, you would split it.
Excellent. Thank you both. And then there is also a tech form. So last semester they were kind of combined. This semester they are going to be separate. So a little bit of a change to keep note of. And Amanda's going to talk about that more when we get to kind of the second half of our presentation. So please, you know, keep in tune for that. There'll be a lot of really helpful stuff on that form as well. Amanda has dropped that link into the chat, and I'll be dropping, or one of us will be dropping the marketing form in as well. So TBD on that. Okay. And now back to James.
Hi, everyone. I'll try and make this brief because not everyone needs rights. But if you do need rights, please, in most cases, let us secure them because it's really helpful to know what is going on. And if there are any considerations, especially with how your virtual production will work, there are usually some considerations within your contract that we just want to make sure you're aware of. And also sometimes come around if you don't look at your contract very carefully. So usually I have, so I can just tell you like, this is the thing that they said and you're fine. The rights request form for spring is now up and ready. I would like everyone to complete it by next Friday. For many of you, you could do that right now. And if we have already been in conversation, there is no need for you to go back and like do the form again. This is just so that anyone that still was waiting or anyone that was waiting could have a one place to go. So we have had a lot of success with working with Showtix for You. They will host any of your material. So you don't necessarily have to release it out on YouTube or any of those internet platforms. If you really would like a actual box office type experience, you can definitely do that through Showtix for You. The fees are very slight. It's like about $1 per ticket if you have a zero, if your viewing is free. And those are also taken care of by your SAC funds. So if you're interested in that, it is not just for theatrical shows. It can be for a wide variety of content, and I can always help you out with that. If you're hiring guest artists, I want to say to everyone, last week I was out recovering from a shoulder procedure, so I got all of those emails. There are a lot, especially if you're West Philly swingers. So I'm working on those and putting them through. If you have already submitted in some form for spring a instructor director form, you are okay. You do not have to resubmit. If you are going to, this is a updated one that is just for spring 2021. Things to be aware of about hiring guest artists are that if anyone is not a US citizen, and they would know, please make sure that they are put it in red font and everything, because they need to be pre-approved by HR, and it's nothing with us in as Platt House. It's more with HR and tax stuff that they're just really trying to get out ahead of this year. So it's really nothing at our level. The other thing to be aware of is that there is a significant component that they need to fill out. So just be aware that once they have things in their inbox, that they have some steps to complete before they can fully be onboarded to HR. Any questions about that? Looks like we're good.
Wait, actually, I have a question about rights real quick. So like, for instance, if we're like, say my group's thinking of not putting on a full show, but maybe using maybe licensed songs and putting on like more of like a talent show, would we have to fill out the rights form, and would we need to know what songs we would be licensing by that time?
Jaden, you always are the person that asked the question that when I was making something, I was like, I don't need to do that. No one's going to ask that. So I was thinking about putting out at the title performance rights, because what you're thinking about are more about are some of the other types of rights and not grand rights. So if any of those things creep up, contact me directly, because those are, we know that every time that we do this, it's a new can of worms. So we can definitely help though. Thank you for asking.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, so Platt House has put in a proposal in for outdoor rehearsals, and we have secured a location for those outdoor rehearsals for all performing arts groups. Those rehearsals would start at least as just one per week per group. We do not, we've got the facilities approval, but we don't have the OSA approval yet because they're not ready with their process. Though our stuff is going to be in probably, our stuff will probably be in tomorrow, and they hope to have their process ready by the 1st. So when I'm very hopeful that we'll get that approval. I don't want to say for sure because you just never know, but there'll be a lot of rules. You'll be masked and you'll be distant, but at least you'll be able to be together for some rehearsal or videotaping of a performance or a skit or a song or whatever. There's going to be like very strict rules. You'll need to have your green open pass. It'll be monitored. There'll be between Platt staff and campus health monitors and allied security. Someone will be checking your green open passes. Each of you will, so we don't have this yet. I'm hoping to have it next week. And when this comes out, I should say if and when this comes out, we really, 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 really need you to adhere to everything, including not leaving one speck of paper or a water bottle behind or anything. It's very important that we can use this space and keep it maybe for the whole semester to help with in-person activities. Right now, we only have it for February, and then we have to reapply for it. So if as soon as we hear, if we have it, it's going to be a really quick turnaround for a training to go over it with everyone. Each group will be required to have a health marshal, which will help make sure you have everyone on green open pass, help make sure that if there's someone tests positive in your group, that you go through the right procedures and don't go to rehearsal together that day. The health marshal will also make sure that you're getting tested twice a week and following all the procedures. So please know to be on the lookout because as soon as we hear, we want to turn around quickly so you can start using things. Next slide. We don't have approval for indoor yet. I have an overall policy into the provost's office. I'm going to write it a little more specifically for campus health and OSA and everyone to approve. So, and that means like you can't just go off campus and be in another room somewhere singing or dancing or acting. The problem is if you are in a group, it is considered a group event. So if 3 of you are just friends and not in a group and you go running together, that's okay. But if you are 3 of you and you go on Locust Walk and start singing, that's considered a group event. So it doesn't seem fair. I get it. But those are the rules that we are under. So please obey them. I want us to set a good example, and we will try our best to get you outdoor and indoor limited distance and mass rehearsals this semester.
This one is me. All right. So a lot of you have been thinking ahead, which is something we love, and reaching out with your concerns about how your group membership and leadership will transition into the fall. Many groups are experiencing low membership, and members who are participating, while we are definitely accruing knowledge and experience with organizing and editing and filming ourselves, etc., they obviously aren't accruing the same exact kind of production experience that they might for in-person shows in the nebulous future. So here are some suggestions. Appoint an advisor. If there is a current student or a recent alum who's available and willing to be an informal mentor to the incoming board, find them now, talk to them, and document them as a resource so that the next gen knows how to get in touch. That person might be you, but it does not have to be you. Hopefully there are many people who can help carry this torch. Develop detailed documentation for your incoming board. So what have you learned about your particular group's acoustics in certain spaces? What do you know about how many speakers you need? Now is a great time to write it down. Consider finding a place within your future in-person performances for alumni who graduated without being able to finish their performances. So some of y'all already have an alumni dance or alumni song. It's a great sort of mechanism to try to incorporate graduated members. Give us your email addresses. Submit your new board members information to the PAC subcommittee chair. Submit your rosters to us and to the PAC subcommittee chair. And touch base with your Platt House and or PAC shop advisor when you do go through board transition so that we stop emailing you and start emailing the next person. The takeaway is to over communicate with us and with each other, and that there's no shame over the course of this process if you lose your footing and need to reach out for assistance. That's what we're here for.
So we're going to pause here before we turn things over to the amazing Amanda Labonte in the PAC shop and just see if there are any other questions. Throughout the whole presentation, please feel free, as you have been, continuing to drop questions in the chat. But if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask anything right now, please feel free to. And I just want to echo one of the questions that came up in the chat about this. We are recording this. We'll get it sent out probably later this week or early next week. So you can share the slides and the presentation itself with your other group members and have all those links and everything else accessible as well. Okay, and we'll ask for questions again at the end. So if you have any you're holding, please feel free to continue to hold them. And we're going to turn things over to Amanda.
Meg,
good, Laurie.
Why don't we let PAC exec talk here?
Sure. Adam, go for it.
Yeah, so just something super fast. Hi, everyone. Shockingly, we are already reaching the time where, our term on PAC exec is wrapping up. I know, I can't believe it either. So if you're interested in running for any of the subcommittee positions, you should reach out to your subcommittee chair. You can also just reach out to any of us directly if you just want to hear about what it's like to be on PAC exec, if you have any questions. And yeah, we hope you'll join us. And don't worry, if you run, we will make sure that you have a good transition. You're not just going to get thrown in. It's a very nice process, especially during this pandemic. So yeah, run for PAC exec. That's it.
Don't forget, PAC exec also includes community service and tech, not just subcommittees. And if you are serious about running, you need to talk to members of Platt House as well.
Thank you, Adam and Laurie. Okay, Amanda, take it away.
Hello. Megan, can you go to the next slide?
You got it.
Thank you. So I'm Amanda Labonte. I'm the technical advisor at the Pack Shop. My pronouns are she, her. I work with Michelle Mahler. She's the shop supervisor. Our emails are below. The packshop4100 at gmail.com. You'll get either one of us. Michelle monitors the email as well as me. So if you can't remember my email, just email it there and then I'll respond to you. Next slide, please, Megan. So here's all our contact information, our emails again, our website, which has links to technical resources and also all the forms you're going to need this semester. There's a new little tab there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We use Instagram a lot to get updates out. So if you don't follow us, please do. And all those posts double on Facebook, so you can follow us on either one. We also have a phone number. You can text us. Please don't call us. It is a text only number. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the Tech Rider. This is due by Wednesday, February 10th. I'll explain why in a second. The link we already posted in the chat. But these are the questions you're basically going to get. It asks your name, email, group, if it's a collab, things like that. If you are editing videos yourself, just your group, the only two questions you need to ask are the first two, are the first two. The what are you creating this semester? And that's just a brief description, like we're doing a play with rights, or we're doing 7 videos, or we're thinking of doing 12 songs, whatever it is. It's just so I kind of get an idea of the scope of the project. And then the next one is, are you planning to edit the group videos yourself? If that answer is yes, that's it. You just do that and submit it. If it's no, then you answer the rest of the questions. And this is because, I'll explain a little more on the next slide, but we have a bunch of different editors on standby, as it were. And that's why the deadline is February 10th. It's so that I can get the information of how many groups we have that need editing, and I can start to distribute them out so that everyone can start doing their budgeting and they can start hiring people if they need to, things like that. So the rest of the questions on that: estimated length of your videos or productions, or quantity of videos. So we're doing a full length show, it's 2.5 hours. We're doing 10 videos. They're all about 2 minutes a piece because it's 10 different songs or 10 different dances or whatever. It doesn't have to be super specific, just kind of a rough estimate. Does your video include music that will need to be edited? This is mainly for act groups, musical theater, bands, anyone that has music in their thing that will need more editing. Dance, it doesn't necessarily require you guys because you will have a track that assumingly you're dancing to. So it's more for if files will need to get EQ'd and things like that. Is your group going to edit the audio part only of your video? I super recommend this, especially if you're an act group or you have a music director or anyone that knows how to do audio and you're just syncing to a video. So if it's an act group that's doing recorded your audio separate and then you're syncing it to video, you guys know what you're supposed to sound like. But it's okay if you don't know that. We have editors who can do that. Are you using a green screen? This is super important because the way you film is very specific when you have a green screen, and the way the editors will want you to film is very specific. So that also just lets me know that you're using a green screen. I need to put you in touch with an editor as soon as possible. Approximately how many people will be in your video total? That's just so I know how many videos we're getting. So if you're doing a play that has 13 people in it, cool, 13. If you're doing 10 different dances over, and they're all different combinations of people, but there's 20 people total in your group, just tell me 20 people. It's just so I know how many videos to look for. And then what type of equipment are you gonna use to record? That's really just for my own records to see what you're using, and also so I can tell the editors, like, hey, they're gonna use iPhones for everything or whatever it is, just so we know kind of what we're getting. Next slide, please, Megan. We're gonna take questions at the end. I'm just kind of gonna steamroll everything and then do questions at the end. So things to note: you have to talk to me to get assigned an editor. We have multiple companies this semester and they all have sort of different specialties. So it's super important for you to talk to me about it so that I can get the right fit and, like I said, distribute it, and so that they know that it's coming, that videos are coming for them to edit. Don't buy equipment without talking to me first. That's so I can help you with microphone choices or camera choices. Ideally, you shouldn't need any of that stuff, but talk to me first before you get there. And if you haven't caught this before, talk to me before you begin filming or recording. It's super important. I'm here to help. in the pack shop, you'd have to talk to me before you start to build. So we're just virtual. So talk to me first. Next slide, please, Megan. So pack shop equipment. Right now we have Adobe Premiere Pro. I think it's actually Premiere Rush, but we have an Adobe suite. We have some licenses available, and we have Soundtrap. Soundtrap's super cool. It's a collaborative audio recording and editing software. And we have a certain number of licenses for that as well. I'm going to drop that link in there. So if your group is thinking about using any of those, just fill out that form and I will get back to you. It's going to ask you which one you're looking for and how long you want it, what date you want. Because we only have a limited number of licenses, it might be like, hey, you can have it for a week and then you can have it again in 2 weeks. It just sort of depends on what the demand is. Last semester, there was not a big demand, so we were able to give it out for a long amount of time. If we're given permission from the university, the pack shop will also have a green screen in the shop, will allow props and costumes and microphones to go out. But again, that's with permission from the university. Nothing has been approved yet. So that's on hold, but possibly to come. We hope it's to come. We miss your faces. Next slide, please, Megan. So just the next couple slides are some tips and tricks. Interacting with your editors, have a script or music to give them depending on what you're doing, or dance notes, things like that. They're only going to want to talk to one person. That doesn't mean you can't direct them to someone else. So if you have 3 choreographers, or you have a music director and a director and things like that, they're going to want one person to email. So make sure you're once I make that connection, that you have one person who's super reliable to pick that up. Also, they don't know your group or your project, so make sure your notes are super clear. Make sure they know who you are as you're doing it. Many of them want to help and want to give advice before you start recording. So once you say like, hey, yes, I need an editor, this is our project, I'll connect you. And a lot of them will want to have a meeting with you. It's just like if your show is in Annenberg and you'd have to meet with me and meet with Annenberg, it's the same type of thing. You're meeting with another group or another person so that they can help, because they're the ones who are editing your pieces. All of your files need to be in 2 weeks before your release date, whatever date that is. That's all of the files, every single one of them. So if you have a music track that you need to get it. They're not going to get it for you. And everything needs to be in for that date, or you might have to move your date or push it over. And everybody was last semester, but also be kind, understanding, and flexible. Things happen. They're working super hard. They have also had an influx of stuff happen, just as we have. And again, you have to go through me to contact them. So just because you used visual sound last semester, or you heard like, oh, hey, that group used these people, I'll just go talk to them. Go through me first and I'll connect you to the right person. Next slide, please, Megan. Just a couple recording tips. Minimize distractions, both noise and visual. So if you're recording a video, make sure that you're clear in the frame. There's not roommates walking behind you and crazy things like that. Make sure there's not extra noise happening. Make sure my neighbor was just doing laundry and it fortunately stopped before I started talking. Otherwise it would have sounded like I was in a submarine. Make sure the train's not going to go by, things like that. It's going to make it easier for your editors, whether you're doing it yourself or you're doing it with an outside editor. If you need to re-record, make sure you can duplicate that original recording situation. So if you're at home and you're recording because you're visiting your family or you're quarantining with your family, and then you come back to campus, not saying any of that would happen, and then you need to re-record something, it's gonna be really hard to match the volume and the noise floor and things like that. So make sure you can sort of duplicate it. Make sure you try to do things in chunks all at once so that everything looks the same. Musicians, click tracks and rough mixes. If you're gonna lip sync to an audio recording, make sure you're lip syncing to your version of the song. Have someone do a rough mix so that you can hear what it sounds like. If you need help with that, contact me. I'm a sound person. I can make you a rough mix, just so that it lines up, because that's some of the hardest part, is lining not only the tracks up, but lining up the video as well. When in doubt, do a test and ask your editor or tech staff. If you don't have someone that does tech in your group, it's a really good time to start asking around and be like, hey, does anyone want to be like the lead tech person, even if you know nothing about tech? It's just having someone who can keep an eye on things and Make sure it's going to work is awesome. Again, talk to your tech editors, light your videos properly. I have a second screen, so I'm looking. So if I turn my light up, it's going to look really gross. But if I turn it down, I get this nice balanced-ish look as best you can on Zoom. So you want to make sure that you're lighting your videos properly so that your actor, your performer, your dancer, your singer can be seen. And trim the fat. What I mean by that is don't send your editors videos that have 7 takes in them and there's lots of dead space on the other side. Like, just go through and cut it. If you don't know how to, I'm happy to show you. And above all, credit your editors and tech staff. That's even if you're putting one song up on Facebook, make sure you credit them. And that's, like I said, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, just put it in the comments, put it in the caption, like edited by, because they're, one, no one sees them, and 2, they put lots and lots of work into it. You have to credit them. Next slide, please, Megan. Green screen tips. This is by no means exhaustive. This is just super basic stuff. Make sure your green screen is nice and tight and there aren't any wrinkles in it. Put it in your bathroom with a steam shower if you have to get the wrinkles out. Don't stand directly against the screen because that's going to start creating shadows and make it harder to put a background in. Obviously, don't wear green, but there are other shades too, like blonde hair tends to wash out on green screens. So you kind of get to play around, and that's, again, talking to your tech person and your editors, things like that. Make sure your screen fills the camera. So if you're using a green screen and you're using your laptop computer, make sure that the person in the screen is the only thing in the image. You don't want to see the rest of the apartment, things like that. Light the screen, diffuse the light. So if you're at home and you have clip lights like you have in your garage, you can put wax paper or parchment paper over it, and it'll give you enough of a diffusion that you're not going to have a hot spot on the screen. Typically 45-degree angles is the nice thing. When you're in an apartment or something like that, you're kind of playing with what you have. And same type of light on both sides. So you want it to be the same, basically the same wattage. You don't want a 20-watt light and a 40-watt light. You want it to be nice and even on the green screen. And then you also have to light your actor as well. And like I said, test, reach out to people, talk to me, talk to other subcommittees, other groups, anyone else who's done a green screen. Next slide, please, Megan. Again, this is all our contact information. Jaden, we're waiting for permission about prop and costume pickup. So once we have it, you'll know about it. Next slide, please, Megan. I think it's just questions. So any questions? I know that was a lot all at once.
Just an FYI, we will have a day if you left instruments or something in Platt House. We had one in the fall, but if there's still something there that belongs to you, we will have a process and a day for that. So we'll send out a form. And one thing that we forgot to talk about is the same policies apply to postering or flyering around campus as does chalking. So you can only post your flyers in approved areas like kiosks. You cannot go in the quad. You cannot go anywhere, any college house, and just hang things up. You have to get permission from the house dean, and usually that means they hang it for you. And chalking, very important, people, only on horizontal surfaces, no vertical, no walls, no faces of stairs. Do not do the front of stairs. It's vertical. It does not come off in the rain. That area by Williams that's a brick wall, stop chalking on there. Just stop. Just horizontal, please.
And in addition to the horizontal, also it has to be in an uncovered space so that the rain will be able to wash it away. So no overhangs underneath those is also not permitted. And if it has your name on it, then, and you chalk in the wrong space, we get told because it gets reported to us, and obviously it has your name included. So
yes, some of your groups had to clean that wall last year, and it's not as easy as you think. So if the rain can't hit it, do not chalk there.
okay, I think our team will hang out for a few minutes, but also before we wrap up, we wanted to be sure to note that if the university policy changes. So if there are rules for in-person student group activities change for the rest of the semester, we will be hosting a second pre-prod that we, again, strongly recommend everyone attends. And if you're producing a show of any sort or a content series of any sort, it would be mandatory for you to attend. So please keep your eyes peeled from that. There will be lots of communication about it if it happens. And if there are no changes to in-person activities, then all of the guidelines we stated above will remain in effect for the rest of the semester. Team, is there anything I missed from this that we want to reinforce or reiterate? Excellent. Okay, I believe that brings us to the end of today's pre-production meeting. Again, if you have any other questions, you can drop them in the chat. You can unmute yourself and let us know. And as I said, the staff will hang around for a few minutes. So if you wanted to ask your questions sort of offline or after the recording, we can do that as well. So we got a question from Felicity, just to clarify, where will this be, this recording and our slides be posted? So yeah, we'll post it to the Platt YouTube and we can send the link around for that as well. We'll get captions on it first, so it will take a couple days before it gets posted. So I would look for it like early next week. Definitely next week it should be posted though. And again, we'll share the link out around in like a pack wrap and we'll post it for you to find it. Thanks for that question. Jaden, are we expected to reach out to our Platt House advisor for a meeting early this semester? You should hear from your advisor. So if you had a check-in at the end of last semester, they might wait till later in this semester to do sort of a spring check-in. However, if you would like to have a meeting with your advisor, and Jaden, since I'm your advisor, I'm definitely going to echo this, please feel free to reach out. I would be more than happy to have a meeting. Any other questions? Yeah, no problem. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And again, we'll hang out in case there are any other questions y'all want to do offline. So now I can't figure out how to stop the recording.
Thanks,
There
guys.
it is. Bye.